Hey, welcome back. Get comfortable. This one's a long one. We're going to go through 100 money and wealth facts tonight. Things most people never get taught. Things that quietly explain why some people build wealth and others don't. And things that might just change the way you think about money forever. There's no rush. Just relax, watch the blocks fall, and let this wash over you. Let's start.
Fact number 1. The average millionaire has 7 different sources of income. Not one job, not 2, 7 different ways that money flows into their life. Some of those streams are big, some are small, some barely feel like anything on their own. But together, they create something steady, something that keeps going even when one part slows down. Most of us were only ever taught to find one job and hold on to it. Nobody told us about the 7 streams. Nobody sat us down and explained that the people who feel financially safe usually have money coming from more than one direction. It starts with one extra stream. Just one. Started small, given time to grow.
Fact number 2. Most wealthy people don't look wealthy. If you walked past them on the street, you wouldn't know. They drive normal cars, they live in normal houses, they don't wear it on the outside. Studies have found that the majority of millionaires live well below what they could afford. They choose to keep things simple. They spend less than they make and let the difference quietly grow somewhere, out of sight. The people who look the richest are often the ones who have the least. The ones who say nothing are usually the ones who have the most. Real wealth tends to be quiet. Fact number 3. Money is not taught in most schools. 12 years of education, sometimes more, and almost none of it about the thing that will shape your daily life more than almost anything else. How to budget, how interest works, how debt grows, how to save, how to invest. Most people walk into adulthood not knowing any of this. They learn by making mistakes. They learn by losing money they didn't have to lose. They learn too late, or sometimes not at all. This isn't your fault. It's just the world that most of us were handed. But knowing that is the beginning of something different. Fact number 4. The 40-hour work week was once considered a radical idea. Henry Ford introduced it in 1926. Before that, people worked far more, with no set limit, no guaranteed days off, no real separation between work and the rest of life. Ford believed that workers who were rested did better work. He was right. And what once seemed like a revolutionary idea became so normal that most people have never questioned it. What feels permanent today may look completely different to the people who come after us. Fact number 5. If you saved $1 every single day starting at age 20, by the time you were 65, you'd have about $16,000. Not nothing, but not life-changing either. Now imagine you invested that same dollar each day at a 7% average return. By 65, you'd have over $160,000. The habit is the same. The dollar's the same. The only difference is what you did with it while time passed. That difference is compound interest. And compound interest is one of the quietest, most patient forces in the world of money. Fact number 6. The word salary comes from the Latin word for salt. Roman soldiers were sometimes paid in salt because it was so valuable. It preserved food, it kept armies alive. It was worth trading your time and effort to get. What people agree to use as money has always changed. Salt, gold, paper, numbers on a screen. The form keeps shifting, but the human need underneath it stays exactly the same. Fact number 7. Financial stress is the number 1 cause of relationship problems. More couples argue about money than about anything else. More than trust, more than parenting, more than any other single thing. Which means sorting out your money isn't just about your bank account. It ripples outward into everything. Into how you sleep, into how you speak to the people you love, into the quiet background feeling of your daily life. Fact number 8. The richest 1% of people in the world own more wealth than the other 99% combined. That number has been growing for decades, slowly but steadily. Some people hear that and feel angry. Some feel powerless. Some feel quietly determined to build something different for themselves and the people around them. Whatever you feel, it's worth knowing. Fact number 9. Most lottery winners are broke within 5 years of winning. The money arrives, sudden and enormous, and it overwhelms everything. Old habits stay the same. Old ways of thinking stay the same. The same patterns that shaped life before the money continue shaping it after. Only now, there's more to lose. The money changes. The person doesn't. And eventually, the money reflects the person again. Fact number 10. The average American spends more money on lottery tickets every year than on books, music, movies, and video games combined. More on the hope of skipping the process than on anything that might actually help them through it. There's something very human in that wish. The dream of a door that opens straight to the destination. But the path is where almost everything real happens. It always has been. Fact number 11. Wealthy people tend to think about money in terms of time, not just dollars. Before spending, they ask themselves how many hours of their life they traded to earn this amount. That one small shift, applied quietly over years, changes almost every financial decision. A $100 dinner looks different when you think of it as several hours of your life. A small daily habit looks different when you see what it adds up to over a year. Time is the currency beneath the currency. Fact number 12. Warren Buffett, one of the wealthiest people to ever live, still lives in the same house he bought in 1958. He paid $31,000 for it. He has said many times that he is happy there, that he has no desire to change it. The man who could live anywhere chooses the familiar, not because he can't afford more, because more was never really the point. Fact number 13. Wealthy people read. Not just for enjoyment, though that too, but for information, for answers to problems they haven't faced yet, for the thinking of people who have already figured out things they are still working through. Studies show that most wealthy people read at least one book a month that teaches them something. They treat it the same way others treat going to the gym, a regular investment in something that pays off slowly over time. Fact number 14. Rich people think long-term by default. When they make a financial decision, they're not just thinking about how it feels today. They're thinking about where it leads in a year, in 5 years, in 10. That longer view changes the math on almost everything. The same decision can look completely different depending on how far ahead you're willing to look. Fact number 15. Most wealthy people failed before they succeeded. Jeff Bezos lost a lot of money on early ideas that didn't work. Oprah Winfrey was fired from her first television job. Steve Jobs was pushed out of the company he started. Howard Schultz was turned away by nearly 200 investors before Starbucks became what it is today. Failure is not the opposite of wealth. It's often the classroom where the lessons that eventually built the wealth were learned. Fact number 16. Wealthy people ask for help more than most people realize. They hire people who know things they don't know. They admit openly what they're still figuring out. They don't treat needing guidance as something to be embarrassed about. The belief that you have to figure everything out alone is far more common among people who struggle financially than among people who build real wealth. Knowing what you don't know and finding someone who does is one of the smartest moves available. Fact number 17. Studies show that wealthy people sleep well. 7 to 8 hours on average. The image of the successful person who barely sleeps, who grinds through the night, who treats rest like a weakness, is mostly a myth.
Sleep is where judgment comes back, where decisions get clearer, where the mind settles everything the day stirred up. Without it, even the best thinking gets cloudy.
Fact number 18. Wealthy people have a different relationship with discomfort. They are more willing to do the boring thing now so the interesting thing can happen later. More willing to sit with uncertainty. More willing to keep going through the parts that aren't rewarding yet. They're not better at feeling comfortable. They're just more practiced at moving forward anyway. Fact number 19. Research shows that wealthy people almost never carry credit card debt from month to month. They use credit as a tool, a way to move money around, collect benefits, simplify purchases, but they pay it off. They don't let interest build. They don't let borrowed money become a permanent condition. Fact number 20. Almost every wealthy person you can think of built their money by solving a problem. Not by being lucky, not by being the most talented person in the room, but by finding something that people needed and figuring out a reliable way to provide it. A job is solving a problem your employer has. A business is solving a problem your customers have. The question that changes everything is simple. What problem can I solve? And for who? Fact number 21. Albert Einstein reportedly called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. Whether he actually said it or not, the math behind it is genuinely extraordinary. Money growing on top of money, year after year, decade after decade, quietly multiplying while you sleep, while you work, while you go about your ordinary life. Most people understand it in theory. Very few truly feel the weight of it until they see it working in their own account. Fact number 22. If you invest $10,000 at a 7% annual return and never add another dollar, after 40 years, you will have over $149,000. You put in $10,000. Time and compounding did the rest. You didn't work harder. You didn't take a risk. You just let it sit while time passed. Fact number 23. The most important ingredient in compound interest is not the interest rate. It is time. Starting 10 years earlier matters more than finding a slightly better return, which means the most expensive financial mistake most people make is simply waiting to start. Every year you wait costs more than it looks like it costs. Fact number 24. A person who invests $200 a month starting at 22 will have more money at retirement than someone who invests double that amount starting at 32. 10 years of starting earlier beats twice the monthly contribution. Not because of discipline or sacrifice, just because of when the clock started. Fact number 24. A person who invests $200 a month starting at 22 will have more money at retirement than someone who invests double that amount starting at 32. 10 years of starting earlier beats twice the monthly contribution. Not because of discipline or sacrifice, just because of when the clock started. Fact number 26. The stock market has never failed to recover from any crash in its history. Every single time it has dropped, it has eventually come back higher than it was before. The people who lost money in crashes were almost always the ones who sold while it was falling. The ones who waited came back with more than they started with. Fact number 27. Missing just the 10 best days in the stock market in a single decade can cut your total returns by more than half. Those 10 days are impossible to predict. They often happen right in the middle of scary periods when most people want to pull their money out. Staying in, even when it feels wrong, is what most long-term wealth building comes down to. Fact number 28. $1 invested in the S&P 500 in 1928 would be worth over $7,000 today, adjusted for inflation. Not because of anything complicated, just because it was left alone long enough for time to do what time does to money that is invested and not touched. Fact number 29. There is a simple rule called the rule of 72. You divide 72 by your interest rate, and the answer tells you roughly how many years it takes for your money to double. At 6% interest, your money doubles in 12 years. At 12%, it doubles in 6. A small number that tells a very large story about the value of patience. Fact number 30. Most people overestimate what they can do with money in 1 year and dramatically underestimate what they can do with it in 10. The first year of building anything financial is usually quiet. Almost nothing seems to happen. And then slowly, then suddenly, the compounding begins to show. The people who are still there when that happens are the ones who didn't need it to feel exciting at the beginning.
Fact number 31. The average household spends more money on eating out than on groceries. Not occasionally, consistently, month after month. The convenience of not cooking costs more than most people calculate when they add it up across an entire year. It doesn't mean never eat out. It just means knowing what the habit actually costs when you look at the full number honestly.
Fact number 32. Lifestyle inflation is one of the quietest wealth killers there is. It happens when every raise in income is immediately matched by a rise in spending. The apartment gets nicer, the car gets newer, the dinners get more expensive, and the gap between what comes in and what gets saved stays exactly the same. No matter how much more you make, more money comes in, more money goes out, and nothing actually changes.
Fact number 33. People who write down their financial goals are significantly more likely to reach them than people who keep those goals only in their head. Something about putting words on paper makes the goal real in a way that thinking about it doesn't. It moves from possibility to intention, from someday to something with a shape. Fact number 34. Subscriptions are designed to be forgotten. The whole business model depends on people signing up and then not thinking about it again. A small charge every month, easy to miss, easy to dismiss. But added up across all the subscriptions most people have, the total is almost always much higher than they expect when they finally look. Fact number 35. Buying a new car is one of the most financially damaging purchases most people make. A new car loses roughly 20% of its value the moment it leaves the lot. Within 5 years, it has typically lost more than half. You are paying a premium for the experience of being the first person to own something that begins losing value immediately. A car that is 2 or 3 years old costs significantly less and works exactly the same way. Fact number 36. Experiences make people happier than possessions over time. The happiness from a new thing fades relatively quickly. The happiness from a trip, a dinner with people you love, a concert, a moment you lived through, tends to last much longer and actually grows with memory. You can get more lasting happiness from less money if you spend it on living rather than owning. Fact number 37. The average American pays over $10,000 in interest every year. Interest on mortgages, car loans, credit cards, student loans. A significant portion of every working year spent just paying for the cost of having borrowed money. Interest paid is money working against you instead of for you. Fact number 38. People who use cash tend to spend less than people who use cards. There is something about physically handing over money that creates a small moment of hesitation. Cards remove that moment entirely. The payment feels abstract. And abstract payments are easier to make without feeling the weight of them. Fact number 39. Giving yourself a 24-hour waiting period before any unplanned purchase eliminates most impulse buys. The urge to buy something usually passes on its own if you give it a day. The thing that felt urgent at 10 o'clock at night often feels unnecessary by the next afternoon. Time is a very simple filter for separating wants from needs. Fact number 40. Financial stress has real physical effects on the body.
People dealing with serious money stress have higher rates of high blood pressure, sleep problems, anxiety, and heart disease than people who feel financially secure. Your money situation and your health are not separate things. They're deeply connected in ways that most people don't think about until one starts affecting the other.
Fact number 41. The most reliable way to increase your income over time is to become genuinely excellent at something that a lot of people need. Not average at it, not good enough at it, genuinely excellent. The gap in pay between someone who is good at something and someone who is exceptional at it is almost always larger than people expect. Fact number 42. Being able to communicate clearly is one of the highest paying skills you can develop. The ability to explain things simply, to write in a way people actually understand, to talk to someone and make them feel heard shows up in almost every high-income career and business. It is rarely taught directly, but it is always rewarded. Fact number 43. Credentials matter less than capabilities in most modern work. The income gap between people with valuable skills and people without them has been growing faster than the gap between people with and without college degrees. What you can actually do is increasingly more important than what your certificate says you studied. Fact number 44. Negotiating your starting salary is one of the highest return things most people never do. Studies show that people who negotiate their first offer earn an average of $5,000 more per year than people who accept it immediately. Over a full career, with raises and compounding built on top of that higher base, that difference becomes enormous. Most employers expect negotiation. Most people just don't do it. Fact number 45. Learning a second language increases average earnings by between 5 and 20%, depending on which language and which field. It is one of the few skills that produces a direct, measurable bump in income simply by existing in your life. Fact number 46. The most valuable skill in almost any field right now is the ability to learn new things quickly. Industries change, technology changes. The people who can pick up new tools, new ideas, and new ways of working stay valuable when everything else shifts around them. The people who can only do the thing they were originally trained to do become gradually less relevant without even noticing it happening. Fact number 47. Most high earners work in situations where their income is tied to the value they create, not the hours they spend. Hourly income has a ceiling. There are only so many hours. Value-based income, where what you earn reflects what you produce rather than how long you sat there, has almost no ceiling at all. Fact number 48. People who invest regularly in learning and skill building earn significantly more over their lifetime than people who stop learning after school ends. The return on investing in yourself is typically higher than the return on almost any other investment available. A book, a course, a mentor, a new skill, all of these compound in ways that are hard to measure but very real. Fact number 49. Millions of people have turned a small side income into their main income. Almost none of them knew that's where it would go when they started. They started small. They stayed consistent. They kept going past the point where most people quit. And eventually, the small thing became the main thing. Fact number 50. The average self-made millionaire took about 32 years to build their wealth. Not 3 years, not 10. 32. Real wealth for most people is a decades-long project, built quietly through small, consistent habits and decisions that don't feel significant in the moment, but add up into something that eventually does. Fact number 51. Financial freedom is not about a specific amount of money. It is about having enough coming in without trading your time for it to cover what your life actually costs. That number is different for every person. For some, it is modest. For others, it is large. But the definition is the same. The goal is options. The ability to say no to things you don't want. The ability to say yes to things you do. Fact number 52. Every interest payment you make on consumer debt is money moving directly from your pocket into someone else's wealth. Debt, used carelessly, is one of the most effective ways to transfer money from people who have less to people who have more. The lender grows wealthier. The borrower stays in place. Fact number 53. Paying off the smallest debt first, regardless of interest rate, has been shown to work better for most people than the mathematically optimal approach. The reason is psychological. Finishing something, completely eliminating one debt, creates momentum. That momentum keeps people going through the rest of the list when pure math alone doesn't feel motivating enough. Fact number 54. People who reach financial independence almost always share one simple habit. They consistently spend less than they earn and put the difference somewhere it can grow for a long time. That's the whole formula. There is no secret part that nobody talks about. It is simple, quiet, and it works when nothing more exciting does. Fact number 55. There is a movement called FIRE, which stands for Financial Independence Retire Early. It is shown that with a high enough gap between what you earn and what you spend, average income earners can reach financial independence in their 30s or 40s. The key is not how much you make. It is the size of the gap between making and spending. Fact number 56. Having 3 to 6 months of living expenses saved changes how you make decisions in a way that is hard to describe until you experience it. When you have a cushion, fear stops driving the car. You make choices from steadiness instead of panic. And steady choices are almost always better choices. Fact number 57. Student loan debt in the United States now exceeds $1.7 trillion. Many people are still paying for education they received a decade or more ago. The cost of learning something has become, for many, a weight that follows them long after the learning itself is finished. Fact number 58. People who pay themselves first save more than people who try to save what's left at the end of the month. What gets automated gets done. If the money moves to savings before you see it, it disappears from the part of your brain that wants to spend it. The spending adjusts. The savings accumulates. Fact number 59. People who become debt-free almost always describe it as feeling like a raise, even though their income didn't change. Eliminating debt payments frees up money every single month. Money that was previously committed to the past can now be directed toward the future. The number on the paycheck stays the same. The amount left over feels completely different. Fact number 60. At a high enough level, what money mostly buys is options. Not luxury, not status, options. The option to leave, the option to stay, the option to try something new, the option to rest, the option to help someone who needs it. Options are one of the quietest forms of freedom there is. Fact number 61. Losing money feels about twice as bad as gaining the same amount feels good. This is called loss aversion, and it is one of the most powerful forces in financial decision-making. It causes people to hold on to bad investments too long, to avoid risks that are actually reasonable, to make choices based on not losing rather than on what would actually help them win. Fact number 62. The first price you see for something becomes an anchor in your mind. Everything after that gets measured against it, even if that first price was completely made up. A jacket marked down from $300 to $150 feels like a deal even if it was never worth $300 to begin with. This is called anchoring, and it shapes buying decisions in ways most people never notice. Fact number 63. People continue putting money into bad decisions because of what they've already spent. The more you've already invested in something, the harder it feels to walk away, even when walking away is clearly the right move. This is the sunk cost fallacy. What you've already lost is gone, regardless of what you do next. The only question that actually matters is what the best move is from here.
Fact number 64. Seeing what people around you have is one of the biggest drivers of poor financial decisions. People consistently overspend to match the lifestyle of people they know or people they see online, not because they thought it through, just because the comparison happened automatically and the feeling it produced needed to be soothed somehow. Fact number 65. People who talk openly about money with people they trust make better financial decisions than people who treat money as a private or shameful topic. Secrecy around money protects bad habits from being seen. Openness, with the right people, creates accountability that quietly improves behavior over time. Fact number 66. Getting more money doesn't make people happy for long. They adapt to the new level quickly and then want more. This is the hedonic treadmill. It keeps moving regardless of how fast you run on it. The only real escape is deciding clearly what enough actually means to you before the next level of more convinces you that you're still not there. Fact number 67. People spend windfall money differently than earned money. A tax refund, a gift, a bonus, even though the dollar is worth exactly the same, money that arrives unexpectedly tends to be spent more freely, as if it doesn't fully count, as if it wasn't really earned and therefore doesn't need to be protected. Fact number 68. Simply checking your bank balance regularly makes you more careful with money. Awareness alone, without any other change, tends to improve financial behavior. What you see, you think about. What you think about, you manage. What you avoid looking at tends to grow in the direction you were hoping it wouldn't. Fact number 69. Spending money activates the same part of the brain associated with physical pain. This is called the pain of paying. Handing over cash makes it feel real. Card payments reduce that feeling significantly. That reduced feeling is part of why people spend more when they pay digitally. Fact number 70. Beyond a certain income level, roughly enough to cover your needs and have some comfort, extra money produces less and less additional happiness. This doesn't mean money doesn't matter. It matters enormously up to that point. But chasing far beyond it for its own sake rarely delivers the satisfaction people expect when they picture finally having that much. Fact number 71. Simple index funds, which just follow the overall market rather than trying to beat it, outperform the majority of actively managed funds over long periods of time. Doing less in investing often produces better results than doing more. Less buying and selling, less reacting, less trying to be clever. Just steady, patient, boring consistency. Fact number 72. Real estate has created more millionaires than almost any other asset class in history. Not because it's glamorous, because it combines several things at once. A place to live or rent, value that tends to grow over time, the ability to use borrowed money to own something that appreciates, and certain tax advantages that most other investments don't have. Fact number 73. The most financially successful people tend to be patient in a way that most people find almost uncomfortable to watch. They wait for the right time. They don't force outcomes. They let things develop at the pace things actually develop at. That patience is not passive. It is a form of discipline that looks like doing nothing, but is actually one of the hardest things to maintain. Fact number 74. Automating your finances is one of the simplest and highest impact things you can do. Automatic savings, automatic investments, automatic bill payments. When the right behavior happens without needing a decision, it happens consistently, regardless of how motivated or unmotivated you feel on any given day. Systems work when willpower doesn't. Fact number 75. Investing a fixed amount on a regular schedule, regardless of what the market is doing, consistently outperforms trying to time the market for most people.
It removes the guessing, it removes the emotion, it keeps the process going during the scary periods when stopping feels safest but is actually the most costly. Fact number 76. Retirement accounts and similar tax advantage tools are one of the most straightforward wealth building resources available to most people. Using them consistently, starting early, and leaving them alone is one of the most boring and effective financial strategies there is. Fact number 77. For most people in their 20s and 30s, the best investment they can make is in their own ability to earn more. The return on improving your skills and your value in the market is often higher at that stage of life than the return on putting money into any financial account. Human capital and financial capital grow together, and the human capital usually leads. Fact number 78. Net worth matters more than income. Someone earning $50,000 a year who saves consistently can build a higher net worth over time than someone earning $200,000 who spends everything they make. What you keep is more important than what you make. Always. Fact number 79. Building wealth slowly is boring. This is not a problem with the process. This is the feature. The boring path is the one that works. The exciting paths, the quick flips, the overnight opportunities, the things that sound almost too good are where most people lose money. Boring and consistent beats exciting and unreliable every single time, over a long enough period. Fact number 80. Every financially successful person has years of quiet work behind them that nobody saw. Years before anything was visible from the outside. Years when nothing seemed to be happening. Years that looked to everyone watching like nothing was going on. Those years were the foundation. The visible success was just what the foundation eventually made possible. Fact number 81. Sweden has become one of the most cashless societies in the world. Most transactions there happen digitally. Some banks no longer handle physical cash at all. An entire country has moved so far from coins and bills that a whole generation is growing up with almost no experience of holding money in their hands. Fact number 82. The United States dollar is the world's primary reserve currency. Most international trade happens in dollars, even between countries that don't use dollars at home. This gives the United States economic advantages that are largely invisible to most of the people who live there. Fact number 83. Japan has one of the highest savings rates of any developed country. The cultural attitude toward saving, toward living carefully within your means, toward not showing off what you have is deeply different from the culture around money in most Western countries. Different cultures have entirely different relationships with money. Not better or worse, just different. And those differences shape everything. Fact number 84. In Switzerland, renting your home your entire life carries no social stigma at all. Home ownership is not the universal goal it is in many other countries. People rent comfortably, invest their money elsewhere, and live full lives without ever holding a mortgage. What feels like a given in one place is a choice somewhere else. Fact number 85. The concept of personal credit scores is uniquely American in its specific form. Most countries do not have an equivalent system that affects financial access in the same pervasive way. Your ability to borrow money, rent an apartment, or sometimes even get a job in the United States is tied to a 3-digit number that most people don't fully understand. Fact number 86. Microfinance, which provides very small loans to people in developing countries who have no access to regular banks, has helped lift millions of people out of poverty. Not by giving them money, by giving them access to a small amount of capital they could build something with, a tool they could use, a start they could grow. Sometimes the smallest amount of money in the right hands at the right moment changes the entire direction of a life. Fact number 87. A significant portion of the global economy happens completely outside of official channels. no taxes, no regulation, no record. In some countries, more than half of all economic activity is informal. People trading, selling, building, and surviving in ways that never show up in any government data. Fact number 88. Norway built one of the largest sovereign wealth funds in the world using revenue from oil. It was designed to save that money not just for the people alive today, but for future generations. To look ahead decades and preserve something for people who haven't been born yet. That kind of long-term thinking, applied to an entire country, is rare, and it has produced something genuinely remarkable. Fact number 89. The average lifespan of a Fortune 500 company is now less than 20 years. Companies that once seemed permanent have disappeared within a single generation. The economy changes faster than most people's plans account for, which is one reason why staying flexible and continuing to learn matters more than ever. Fact number 90. Financial literacy is much lower in lower-income communities, not because of any difference in intelligence, but because financial education is disproportionately available to people who already have money. The information gap and the wealth gap feed each other, which is one reason why simply sharing what you know about money with the people around you matters more than most people realize. Fact number 91. Generational wealth is built slowly and lost quickly. It takes multiple generations of consistent financial habits to build something that lasts, and it often takes only one generation of different habits to lose it. The building is quiet and takes forever. The losing can happen surprisingly fast. Fact number 92. The most common financial regret among older people is not starting earlier. Not taking more risks, not earning more, not starting earlier. Just beginning sooner, just giving time more time. Time is the one resource that can never be recovered, no matter how much money you eventually have. Fact number 93, people who feel financially secure are more generous, more creative, more willing to take reasonable risks, and report higher overall satisfaction with their lives. Financial security doesn't just change your bank account, it changes your entire experience of being alive. Fact number 94. The psychological burden of financial stress uses up mental energy that could be going toward everything else. Research shows that people dealing with serious money stress have measurably less mental space for other decisions. Being financially stressed is exhausting in ways that go far beyond just worrying about money. It leaks into everything. Fact number 95. Most wealthy people have a written financial plan. Not a plan in their head. Written down with real numbers, real goals, real timelines. The clarity of having it on paper changes how decisions get made day to day. It turns an intention into something with actual shape. Fact number 96. The worst time to make financial decisions is when you're stressed, tired, or emotionally overwhelmed. Research consistently shows that decisions made in those states are worse than ones made from a calm, rested, clear-headed place, which is one reason why building good financial habits during normal times matters so much. So the defaults hold even when you're not at your best. Fact number 97. Financial habits formed before the age of 30 have an outsized influence on the rest of a person's financial life. The habits are harder to change the longer they've been running. The earlier good ones get built, the longer they have to quietly do their work. Fact number 98. Every person alive right now has access to more financial information and more tools than any previous generation in human history. The barrier to understanding money and doing something with that understanding has never been lower. The limiting factor for most people is not access to information. It is consistency in doing something with it. Fact number 99. You already know more than you think you know. Somewhere in this past hour or more, something landed. Something clicked.
Something reminded you of a decision you've been avoiding or a habit you've been meaning to start. You don't need more information to begin. You just need to let what you already know become something you actually do. Fact number 100. The best time to start building a better relationship with money was years ago. The second best time is right now. Tonight. Not tomorrow, not when things calm down, not when the timing is better. Right now. In the quiet of wherever you are, is as good a moment as any that will ever exist. And that is 100. 100 small windows into the world of money and how it really works. Some of them may have surprised you. Some may have settled something that felt unsettled. Some may have drifted past you like a calm wave while you were already halfway into sleep. And that's perfectly fine too. You didn't need to remember all of it. You didn't need to take notes. The things that were meant to land, landed. The rest will find its way back to you when you need it. Money is not a complicated thing at its core. It is a tool. A quiet, patient, powerful tool that responds to attention and intention over time. And now, you understand it a little more than you did at the beginning of this video. So, as you close your eyes tonight, let the thoughts settle like dust in a still room. Let the numbers and the facts and the ideas drift slowly downward. Let your breath slow. Let your body go heavy. You don't have to solve anything tonight. You don't have to figure anything out. You just have to rest. And tomorrow, you can begin. Thank you for being here. If this was worth your time, a comment or a subscription means more than you know. It helps this quiet little corner of the internet reach one more person who might need it. For now, though, rest. Sleep well, and I'll see you in the next one.